Thank you for visiting my website, Creative Technique, my portfolio for professional and technical communications. My name is Linda Pereira, and in this video I'm going to be walking you through my revision reflection. And that is located, if you go to my homepage on my portfolio website, I'm going to go here to Project 1, and scroll down or use the table of contents and click on Revision Reflection. Then from there, you can access my Google document that I made that lists out every single draft that I created for Project 1. Each of the letters, my inquiry, my complaint, and my response to my complaint, which was an adjustment, as I chose. And so, first of all, my brainstorming draft. In my brainstorm draft, I really considered writing about the fact that SoundCloud Go was not syncing up properly with my desktop interface, with basically the mobile application, and Go, a subscription service through the mobile application on SoundCloud. SoundCloud's a music sharing service online, and it should be able to integrate sharing those songs between the two different interfaces, but I experienced a syncing issue. So to begin my brainstorm, I had thought that emails would best work for portraying this, the letters, basically the inquiries and the complaints, but I would put those letters inside of PDF documents and attach them separately to the emails. This part here of my brainstorm, I basically go into things that I later include in my statement of goals and choices, which is also found on the Project 1 page on my website. I'll show you real quick. Excuse me. So, right here, very top, thoughtful choices and technical documents. And so that initial thought that I had with the emails, I did stay with. With the PDF document, I did actually send out an email to SoundCloud that was my inquiry letter. So to begin with, my inquiry, in my introduction, I wanted to list that I'm an avid user and explain why my interest in SoundCloud is at all there, and I decided to explain that I've been using the platform for 8 years, and that I'm a music producer, and that I share that music online, and that I know that it also helps to support underground music and musicians. So I also kind of wanted to persuade them to answer my questions I was thinking with that, and the fact that I avidly contribute to the site, and that if they lost my contribution and my membership, that would be negative to their situation currently. Then in my body, I had my topics all laid out here. I had topics 1, 2, 3. Topic 1 is, unfortunately, I have noticed that the tracks that I like and or repost on the mobile app do not always become synced as liked or reposted to the desktop application, as I had mentioned prior, and then I just kind of go into detail about that. I include how it's inconvenienced to me. And then further in topic 2, I consider the fact that I had purchased a subscription, but I didn't understand where the songs that were related to that subscription were located in my account. And then in topic 3, I listed the fact that I thought that I was excited to use the offline listening feature, but I just thought that there were too many bugs, and I was curious if it had been tested, beta tested significantly, or if we were beta testing it. Okay, and Then I included in this last paragraph something again that can go into later on my statement of goals and choices, which is uses of multimodality. Like for instance, the SoundCloud profile, URL hyperlink, links to tracks with questionable like status, a screenshot video that I include that shows the asynchronicity of the liking between the two interfaces and reposting between the two interfaces. Okay, and then further down, we have peer feedback. So the main feedback that I received from this peer in this round of the feedback cycle was basically they empathized with me. They experienced the same thing with SoundCloud, and they were also a SoundCloud user as well. And they also said that they think it would be crucial to include the fact that SoundCloud, here I'll highlight it, that SoundCloud used to be a completely free app, which would allow for offline listening, to any track you had previously listened to. Now that you are paying for the service, you have a right to expect a more polished experience, which at the very least can effectively perform all of the functions it used to. So and then he also, in this last paragraph, he also says, reading through your brainstorm, I thought that your complaints and your message were very clearly laid out, and your intent was also clear. It also sounds like you have a very good plan for documenting the issues that you've had and why they negatively affect your experience as a user. I'm not sure if Michael intended on hinting at the fact that this was actually a complaint and not an inquiry like I was intending to write initially, but he helped to help me figure that out eventually. Not even in this round, but eventually I went back and I went back through my notes in the feedback cycle, and I realized I was writing a complaint, and a lot of that was also thanks to instructor Bonafetti and her comment too, which I will show you momentarily. But the next one here in that same round was OLA feedback, or online learning assistant, Gus. Gus reminded me of a couple great things that I needed to remember. Be clear about how you want them to fix the problem and what is your ideal interface. How do you want the system set up? So, and he also mentions, please be adamant about how the current OS does not function with avid listeners, producers, or artists. How does the design actually make it harder to listen, create music? And again, this helped to direct my thinking towards, okay, you're writing a complaint. You have a specific result that you want to achieve from it too. Something to absolve or remedy an ail that's already happened, basically. And that's also in the tone of the writing too. Professor Bonafetti, in the brainstorm round, Professor Bonafetti, her feedback was, hi Linda, as long as you can still convey the 5 principles of design and other multimodality of letters, I'm fine with it being an email. So the fact that I include my letters in the form of a PDF document attached to the email, I think that we are all good and follow her guidelines there too. So draft number 2. The date now is a couple weeks later. Now I make my letter more concise. I am a little less pushy with the fact that I've been a user of the website for 8 years. No one cares. I'm more concise with the way that I list out my paragraphs or my topics within the body of my letter. I still am calling it an inquiry though at this point, which is funny. I thought I'd figured out that I was writing a complaint. More so, we could have decided what we wrote, and I was intending to write an inquiry, but it just ended up being more like a complaint by the way that it was written, and so it worked out to I ended up using the inquiry letter as my complaint letter later and completely rewriting my inquiry letter, which I will show you briefly. Here.